from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. India all set to vote in the sixth phase of polling on Saturday in 58 constituencies across 6 states and 2 union territories. Meanwhile, campaigning for the 7th and final phase of election continues. US President Joe Biden says US does not recognize ICC jurisdiction. No equivalence between Israel and Hamas as world court set to rule on measures over Israel's Rafah operation. US introduces new visa restrictions on Georgia over foreign agent bill. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says time to review bilateral cooperation between the two countries. China starts second day of military drills around Taiwan, says drills to test their ability to seize power. And heavy rains return to southern Brazil, flooding even higher ground in Porto Alegre. Millions affected, over 160 killed and several missing. Now let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. All right, election campaigning for the 6th phase of India's general elections concluded on Thursday. The 6th phase polling is all set to take place on May 25th in 58 constituencies across 8 states and 2 union territories. In this phase, a total of 889 candidates are in fray. In this phase, polling will also be conducted in Jammu and Kashmir's Anantnag-Rajouri Lok Sabha constituency. Last month, the Election Commission of India revised the polling date in the Anantnag-Rajouri Lok Sabha seat from May 7th to May 25th. Due to logistical, communication and natural barriers related to connectivity. The counting of votes for all polls will be done on the 4th of June. And in India correspondent Vishal Barasto joins us from Midnapur in West Bengal and Salman Haider joins us from Patna in Bihar. Good morning to both of you. Vishal, my first question to you. 8 Lok Sabha constituencies go to polls in the 6th phase in West Bengal. You are in Midnapur, Bengal's tribal belt. How prepared is the state for tomorrow?
Well, Lipakshi, if we talk about Midnapur, it is not exactly tribal belt, but adjoining tribal belt of Jharkhand, where Santals are in the majority. But as far as this phase is concerned, there is a lot of pressure from both sides. The Election Commission has to also ask political parties to calm down. At the same time, an interesting decision by the Calcutta High Court striking down the OBC category since 2010 has become a political agenda here between the two parties, with Mamata Banerjee clearly declaring in a public meeting that she is not going to accept this ruling because she accuses BJP for this move of the High Court, and she says that it's been there since 2010. So how come the court decide now when the elections are already there? It is a keen contest between the two parties. The third front is marginalized as far as Bengal is concerned, because the main competition seems to be between the Bharatiya Janata Party and the ruling TMC. TMC is under a lot of pressure to prove its worth because it's been there for almost a decade, and that is what the BJP is eyeing. Bharatiya Janata Party knows it very well that anti-incumbency can be a factor in the state of Bengal, and that is why it is trying very, very hard. Spearheading the campaign, Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be holding rallies for the 7th phase as well. BJP, along with Home Minister Amit Shah, Party President JP Nadda, they are all doing the campaign here. Their star campaigners have all come down to Bengal. But other parties, when we talk about Congress and its alliance, I'm talking about the India alliance, they are not doing much as far as the campaign is concerned. So the main race is between the TMC and the BJP. Lipakshi?
All right, Vishal. My second question to you, Salman. 8 constituencies in the state will go to polls in the 6th and the penultimate phase of Lok Sabha elections. Massive campaigning has taken place to woo the voters. What is the mood of the people? How excited are they for the big day?
People are very excited, Lipakshi. Now, the 8 seats which are going to polls on 25th of May, there are on almost on all constituencies, there is a biangular or front face-to-face fight between India Alliance and this NDA alliance. So, only one seat is exception, Saran, where an independent candidate, Hina Shahab, makes it triangular fight. And as you know, RJD has fielded from India Alliance one candidate, Awadh Bihari Chaudhary, who has been Speaker of Vidhan Sabha here. And as far as campaigning is concerned, over 50 rallies, election rallies, have been addressed by the Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. As far as PM is concerned, PM has visited very intensive rallies. He has done as many as 13 rallies he has addressed. Amit Shah is now today even in Ara. He is addressing a rally there, which is to go to poll on 1st of June. So the campaigning is very intensive. As far as Tejasvi is concerned, they celebrated its 200 rallies here so far. So campaigning is very intense, and the people are still tight-lipped in which favor the poll is to go will be decided on 4th of June. So the situation is and weather is somewhat weather is somewhat soft.
All right.
And favorable for the people to come out and vote. So the people, I hope, and other peoples are also hoping that the voting will be a bit higher this time, as weather is very favorable now.
Right.
Yes, Lipakshi.
Thank you so much, Salman and Vishal, for all that update from there. And moving on, as India enjoys the right to franchise in the ongoing parliamentary polls, the heavy cost which was paid to achieve freedom against the colonial rule can't be ignored. Midnapur in the Indian state of West Bengal was the epicenter of the revolution. But has the great sacrifice gone waste? DD India correspondent Vishal Barastu finds out in this special report.
Standing tall in the narrow bylanes of Midnapur, this is the statue of Khudiram Bose, the youngest martyr of India's freedom movement. A memorial in his name carefully preserves the history of Khudiram's sacrifice and Bengal's rebellion against the British Raj. Young Khudiram was provided the country-made bomb by the revolutionary Hem Chandra Kanungo.
इधर खुदीराम का
Here it is shown how Khudiram was hanged to death. Revolutionary leader Hemchand Kanungo provided him the bomb.
Born on 3rd December 1889, Khudiram was an Indian nationalist from Bengal Presidency who opposed the British rule of India. For his role in Muzaffar conspiracy case, 18-year-old Khudiram was hanged to death on 11th August 1908. It all began in 1905 with the division of Bengal on communal lines by the British. The eastern part is now called Bangladesh. Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore protested the move by celebrating Raksha Bandhan. Hindus and Muslims from both sides tied Rakhi on each other's hand to express solidarity and brotherhood. Midnapur has a rich history of Bengal's struggle against the might of Britishers. 3 district magistrates in Midnapur were killed by the revolutionaries, as 84-year-old Kumaresh narrates. His father, a revolutionary, was involved in one of the district magistrates' murder.
My father, Vijay Krishna Ghosh, who took part in the modern freedom fight movement in Midnapur in 1931, 32, 33. 30 magistrates were murdered consecutively in each year.
I have retired 15 years from as principal from a girls' high secondary school in Midnapur town. And so still Midnapur need women empowerment.
This museum highlights the Great Famine of Bengal and the miseries of the people that sparked off Quit India movement in 1942. 20 sculpture in the memorial highlight the role of Midnapur in the freedom movement of India. This sculpture in the museum shows the agony of the people of Bengal, which is also known as the Great Famine of Bengal across the world. It sparked off the Quit India movement against the Britishers. Today, me and you who are celebrating the festival of democracy is all because of these martyrs, especially Khudiram Bose, who was the youngest in the line at the age of 18 years. He laid down his life for his motherland. With cameraman Piyush in Midnapur, this is Vishal Baristo for DT India.
Well, the inked finger has now become a symbol of voter awareness in India. The mark, a proof of participation in all the important polling process, brings with it a sense of achievement and self-pride. Well, in one of the seats going to poll in Odisha, it might as well bring you a huge rebate of 20% in the restaurant bills. Hotel Association of Puri has decided to give 20% concession on food bills to the ones with the indelible mark on their fingers. Take a look.
The temple town is an important pilgrimage center, one of the Char Dham in the nation. Its preeminent place in spiritual context has also made it a prestigious Lok Sabha seat for the state of Odisha. After the cacophony of election campaign has ceded space to the usual hustle and bustle of a normal urban life, this seaside town is all decked up for polling on 25th of May. In a welcome move, the Hotel Association of Puri has announced a 20% waiver on the bills to the voters in all its member restaurants. The indelible ink mark on the fingers will help voters erase 20% of their food and beverage bill.
Every day we make profits, but sometimes we have to do something for the society and country also. So this is an encouragement for the people to come out and vote.
We are offering a 20% discount on food and beverage for 25th, the election day here, and the next day, 26th also, consecutively, we are offering 20% to encourage the young voter along with their parents also.
The offer will be valid not only for 25th, but also for Sunday, the 26th. So even after the day, the voters can go and enjoy the offer in about 100 hotels of Puri, which also house a restaurant.
Voting will be till evening 6 or 5:30. So people who go out to vote may find it difficult again to go out for dinner. So they can enjoy the Sunday's brunch and evening snacks and dinner too.
The tourists visiting Puri who have already cast their votes in earlier phases may also reap the windfall, but the association is not very particular about it. The voters will get a reward for exercising their franchise. This step by the hotel industry is indeed a step in the right direction. These initiatives go a long way in keeping the message of the importance of voting in circulation and also act as an incentive to many youth who are voting for the first time. Ravi Dhiman in Puri for DD India.
Well, also as Haryana prepares to go to polls tomorrow, the issues weighing on people's minds most are related to livelihood. From jobs to the needs of the micro and small scale industry that gives employment to most of the unorganized labour force is what matters most to the voters. Our correspondent Amritpal Singh has more on this.
The Scientific Instruments Industrial Cluster at Haryana's Ambala, which has not been in the best of health in the past few years, is crying for attention. Home to more than 2,100 micro, small and medium industrial units manufacturing scientific instruments used in educational institutes like microscopes, incubators, glassware, The Ambala Industrial Cluster has been manufacturing and supplying scientific instruments since 1914, not only in the country but all over the world.
Ambala has been Asia's biggest market for the last 100 years. All the instruments are manufactured here. They were all supplied to engineering and medical colleges as well as for the satellite production.
उसमें भी कई पार्ट्स अंबाला से बन के जाते हैं.
And yet, the cluster cries for immediate attention. As political parties come seeking votes at their door, people here have their demands ready.
Here, the industry is very small. Laborers are working from home. Because of this, people from the pollution board disturb us. Neighbors accuse us of creating disturbance as well. So we need an industrial area plot of about 150 to 200 yards because we work on a smaller scale.
ताकि हम एक जाके हम वहाँ पे इजी तरीके से अपना काम को कर सकें.
We have always lacked skilled labor here. In present times, people lack the budget to convert to automation. Ambala Kant is a small-scale industry.
यहाँ पर scientific industry को
We have an old base of scientific industry here, along with a brand, but we lack local infrastructure. So government aid towards export facilities will be beneficial.
फिर भी यहाँ पर हमें क्या है local थोड़ा सा infrastructure.
Though mainly unorganized, these units put together have an annual turnover of more than 3,000 crore rupees and provide employment to more than 20,000 people. As Haryana prepares to vote this Saturday, its livelihood issues which matter most to people, like this scientific manufacturing industrial cluster of Ambala, which cries for attention, urgently seeking the policy makers to hear and meet their demands. With cameraman Saurabh Bakshi, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Ambala.
All right, and DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh joins us for more from Haryana on the elections tomorrow. Well, Amrit, good morning. Intense political battle as all 10 Lok Sabha seats in Haryana to go to polls on the 6th phase tomorrow. What are the preparations you see around?
Polling parties have started moving. I am at one such distribution center. If I can ask my camera person to show you, though the polling parties are inside, so they've started taking their EVMs and have started moving from centers like this, which are basically the headquarters of the district, where EVMs are put in the strong room, and then the polling parties move here under police protection and go to their respective polling stations. Today they shall start testing their EVMs, which are pre-tested though. I mean, install them at the particular polling stations, do a quick check. If there is anything, the EVMs put in reserve are sent. So by the evening, a mock drill is done that everything is functional. Other facilities at polling booths like drinking water for people, because it is pretty hot in most parts of the country where these elections are taking place for this 6th phase. So, those preparations are done. It's ensured that medical kits, etc., emergency requirements are put in place. Security is put in place. Police, paramilitary forces called by the state from the center, which move from phase to phase, are put in place. So, all these preparations are taking place today, Lipakshi.
All right. Also, Amrit, red alert has been issued for a heat wave in the northern belt by MD. What precautions have been taken by the Election Commission to ensure smooth voting tomorrow?
Heat is a major concern, and both for the Election Commission and also for political parties. So generally the political parties are advising people to go out and vote early so that they can vote in the morning hours to save themselves from the heat. The Election Commission has made arrangements that that there are water coolers at the polling booths, adequate water is available, and then some sort of emergency medical help can be provided. So there are medical kits, etc., placed. So for old people to come, they've placed some e-rickshaws at most polling booths so that people can be ferried inside. So these are the sort of arrangements that have been made to ensure a smooth voting. But Yes, heat remains a major concern through other phases that I've reported on. We generally political parties and also the booth level workers of various political parties urging people of neighborhoods to come out and vote either towards the morning or towards the evening, because in the daytime it gets really hot.
All right.
Lipakshi.
All right. Thank you so much, Amrit, for that update from Haryana. And moving on, campaigning for the 7th and last phase of India's general elections begins with political leaders holding rallies across the states to woo the voters. 904 candidates from 8 states or UTs to contest elections in phase 7 scheduled for polling on the 1st of June. Bharatiya Janata Party leader and Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Himachal Pradesh and Punjab today. PM to hold public meetings in Nahan and Mandi district of Himachal Pradesh. Late in the day, he'll be holding election campaign for the party candidates in Punjab's Gurdaspur and Jalandhar. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah to hold rallies in Madhupur and Arha district of Bihar. BJP leader and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath to hold rallies in Deoria, Maharajganj and Gorakhpur district of the state. Also, in order to garner support in party's favour, opposition also holding rallies to woo the voters across the states. Congress leader Sachin Pilot to hold election campaign in Punjab's Anandpur Sahib district. Rashtriya Janata Dal leader Tejashwi Yadav to hold public meeting at Deoghar in Jharkhand. Bahujan Samaj Party chief Mayawati to hold election rally in Punjab. And still to come on DD India News Hour. No respite from scorching heat. IMD issues alert for North and South Indian states. Boosting strong ties with Philippines, Indian Navy holds a joint exercise. And in Swati Maliwal case, Bibhav Kumar's 5-day custody to end today.
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, reiterating India's partnership with Africa. Indian Ambassador to the United Nations, Ruchira Kambot, said that Africa will remain India's top priority and we must make African voices stronger in multilateral organizations so they can advocate for their own interests and call out external interferences.
Our partnership with Africa is and will remain a top priority. And it has been our consistent position that there cannot be any peace without development. This calls for making African voices stronger in multilateral organizations so that they can argue their own case and call out external interferences.
And Indian Navy ships INS Delhi, INS Shakti and INS Kiltan completed their visit to Manila, Philippines as part of the operational deployment of Indian Navy's Eastern Fleet to the South China Sea. The visit demonstrated India's strong ties with the Philippines and its commitment to further deepen the partnership. The port call witnessed subject matter exchanges between the Indian Navy and the Philippine Navy personnel. There were also sport fixtures, cross-deck visits and cultural exchanges. The commanding officers of the ships had an interaction with the counterparts of the Philippine fleet. The two sides also discussed the avenues for collaboration, mutual interest and the current security situation in the region and beyond. Well, respite from scorching heat seems far from sight as intense heat wave continues to grip several states in North India. The maximum daytime temperatures in some areas soar to nearly 50 degrees Celsius. According to India's Meteorological Department, severe heat wave conditions are expected to continue over Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh for a few more days. Meanwhile, the weather officials have issued orange alert for 8 districts in southern state of Kerala as heavy rains pounded the state. Houses and major roads in Ernakulam and low-lying areas of Thrissur city were inundated. Apart from these regions, the Met Department also predicted heavy rainfall in northeastern states of Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura on Sunday. Well, a low-pressure area over the Bay of Bengal is expected to intensify into a cyclonic storm named Remal with heavy rainfall warnings issued. The cyclonic storm is forecasted to reach near Bangladesh and adjoining West Bengal coast by 26th of May. A low-pressure area over the southwest and adjoining west-central Bay of Bengal moved northeastwards and is likely to concentrate into a depression over central parts of the Bay of Bengal by the morning of May 24th. It is expected to intensify further into a cyclonic storm over the east-central Bay of Bengal by May 25th. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. At least 7 people died and over 20 injured after a mini bus collided with a truck on the Delhi-Jammu National Highway. The victims were rushed to the civil hospital in the city of Ambala. At least 89 people were shifted to hospital in the West Indian city of Palanpur in Gujarat. The people started suffering discomfort after a gas leakage was reported. None of the patients are in danger right now. The reason behind the gas leak is being investigated. 60 Indian nationals who were stranded in Cambodia to fraudulent employers have now safely returned home. Upon reaching their homeland, they thanked the Indian and Cambodian authorities for their support. Bibhav Kumar's 5-day custody by the Delhi police will end today. Bibhav Kumar is personal assistant and a close aide to Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. He was taken into custody by the Delhi police on May 18th in connection with the assault of former Delhi Commission for Women Chief Swati Maliwal. India's Chief of Army Staff General Manoj Pandey attended the National Defence Academy Spring Term 2024 passing out. Addressing the cadets, General Manoj Pandey expressed his honour addressing the cadets on such a significant occasion, which he said would remain a proud memory for them. Cadets of the Ezimala Indian Naval Academy in Kerala showed various adventurous performances, presented an outdoor training exhibition on Thursday. And still to come on DD India News App. French President calls for lifting of all barricades erected across New Caledonia. NATO's Northern Group meeting as defense ministers and representatives gathered in Lithuania. And Japan Met Department predicts hottest year on record.
We are in Cannes, the famous city on the French Riviera. The 77th edition of the Cannes Film Festival is here. So soak into 12 days of world cinema and the hottest fashion trends. The famous 24 steps leading to the Palais des Festivals, where most of the cinema at this festival is screened, are beckoning. Join me, Munmun Bhattacharya, as I take you through all the buzz around the festival and on India's participation in it, only on DD India.
As India decides decides in the world's largest election.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. India all set to vote in the sixth phase of polling on Saturday in 58 constituencies across 6 states and union territories. Meanwhile, campaigning for the 7th and final phase of election continues. US President Joe Biden says US does not recognize ICC jurisdiction. No equivalence between Israel and Hamas as World Court set to rule on measures over Israel's Rafah operation. US introduces new visa restrictions on Georgia over foreign agent bill. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says time to review bilateral cooperation between the two countries. China starts second day of military drills around Taiwan, says drills to test their ability to seize power. And heavy rains return to southern Brazil, flooding even higher ground in Porto Alegre. Millions affected, over 160 killed and several missing. Well, moving on, the United States does not recognize the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court, and there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas, U.S. President Joe Biden said on Thursday. International Criminal Court prosecutor Karim Khan requested an arrest warrant against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The United States is not a member of the court but has supported past prosecutions, including the ICC's decision last year to issue an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin over the war in Ukraine.
On the ICC. We don't recognize the jurisdiction of ICC the way it's being exercised, and it's that simple. We don't think there's an equivalence between what Israel did and what Hamas did.
Well, the International Court of Justice will rule on Friday on South Africa's request to order a halt to Israel's Rafah operation in Gaza, it said on Thursday. Last week, South Africa had asked the ICJ, also known as the World Court, to order a halt to Israel's operation in Gaza and in Rafah in particular. The top UN legal body has no way to enforce its decisions, but they carry international weight. A ruling against Israel could add to its political isolation after a series of setbacks this week. And the United States introduces visa restrictions on Georgia and reviews their bilateral cooperation due to the controversial foreign agent bill. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, announcing the actions in a statement, said measures will target individuals responsible for undermining democracy. Blinken also announced that he has launched a comprehensive review of bilateral cooperation between the U.S. and Georgia. The legislation sparked a major protest in Georgia, with opponents decrying it as authoritarian and Russian-inspired. The bill, passed by the ruling Georgian Dream Party last week, requires NGOs and media outlets with more than 20% of their funding coming from outside Georgia to register as bodies pursuing the interest of a foreign power. And China's military started its second day of war games around Taiwan on Friday with drills to test their ability to seize power and control key areas. Exercises, it is said, were launched to punish Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te. The 2 days of drills in the Taiwan Strait and around groups of Taiwan-controlled islands near the Chinese coast started just 3 days after Lai took office. The Eastern Theater Command of the Chinese People's Liberation Army said in a brief statement that its forces on Friday continued with their drills dubbed Joint Sword 2024A. The exercises are to test the ability to jointly seize power, launch joint attacks and occupy key areas, it said. And it's the second day of Chinese drills today around Taiwan. Our correspondent Chris Gilbert tells us more about the ongoing situation there.
Obviously, it's a very heated situation, with sea and air drills still ongoing. And of course, Taiwan has responded to this situation as well by deploying its own military. And at the moment, the situation is still very much unfolding as it continued to do yesterday. It is a heated situation, of course. and many other countries such as Japan, the United States, at the moment withholding comment as they watch the situation unfold. But no doubt those comments will be coming in the current days, and the responses coming in the current days as well. No doubt this adds more fodder to the arguments led by the United States that it, as well as the Philippines and other neighboring countries, need to prepare for any assertive action by China in the Taiwan Strait, or any actual sparks that may erupt from this. So it is being very closely watched, but also at the same time, there is this front line that the US, Philippines, and supporting countries are building through China, Guam, 4 new military bases in the Philippines, 4 new US military bases in the Philippines currently being developed. So, as well as this being immediately about Taiwan, there is also, as China says in its national security strategy, the feeling of it being somewhat hemmed in by US-led countries that is contributing to the situation.
Well, the French president says the state of emergency imposed in New Caledonia after deadly riots can only be lifted if all the barricades erected across the French Pacific island are removed. Emmanuel Macron also said he does not want to force through the contentious voting reforms that sparked the unrest. DD India correspondent Ross Cullen reports for more.
Emmanuel Macron took part in a minute's silence on Thursday upon his arrival in New Caledonia in memory of the people who've lost their lives in the worst violence to hit the French overseas territory since the 1980s. 6 people have died, 4 residents and 2 police officers. Emmanuel Macron said he was calling for and hoping for calm, peace and security to return to the island. Now, an additional 3,000 security personnel have been deployed to New Caledonia, a mix of police and the military, and the French president said that they would remain in place for as long as is necessary to restore order. They have been sent there to try to quell the violence which broke out more than 10 days ago after contentious voting reforms were approved by MPs here at the National Assembly in Paris. Emmanuel Macron said that France had been facing an unprecedented movement of insurrection. Ross Cullen in Paris reporting for DD India.
All right, moving on, United States President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden hosted Kenyan President William Ruto and First Lady of Kenya Rachel Ruto for a state dinner at the White House on Thursday. The state dinner witnessed the presence of U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, Central Intelligence Agency Director William Burns, former U.S. President Bill Clinton and actor Sean Penn. Earlier in the day, Biden pledged a new era of partnership on technology, security and debt relief to the leader of one of Africa's strongest democracies. And UK Parliament is wrapping up its legislative business as the country's election campaign swings into the gear. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak called a snap election for July 4th. DD India's Oli Barrett reports for more from London.
Friday is the last day for legislation in this parliamentary session. That's the process called the proroguing of Parliament. So there are various bills that the government is trying to get through before the end of the week, and at that point, that is effectively it for the legislative agenda in the House of Commons. Behind me, there are various bits of legislation that won't make it through in time because of the early election that's been called by the Prime Minister. For example, the Prime Minister's own smoking and vaping legislation that he wanted to be part of his political legacy as Prime Minister. Next week, here in Westminster, Parliament is officially dissolved on May the 30th, but the election campaign is very much up and running already. The major party leaders are moving across all the nations of the United Kingdom, making their case to voters ahead of July the 4th, the day that the UK goes to the polls. All of the polling still suggests a huge uphill struggle for the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to turn things around ahead of July the 4th, but he insists he is the man to stay in charge, to keep the country, as he says, on track, and he believes that the economy is beginning to turn, that the world is in a dangerous position when it comes to geopolitics, and that therefore the electorate shouldn't trust the leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer, with such responsibility. Keir Starmer insists it's time for change. He says that, for example, the government's migration scheme is a con. The Prime Minister has admitted that no flights to Rwanda under those anti-immigration plans will get in the air to Rwanda before Election Day on July the 4th. Ollie Barrett in London reporting for DD India.
Well, more weapon deliveries to Ukraine dominated NATO's Northern Group meeting as defense ministers and representatives gathered in Lithuania on Thursday. The meeting comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged allies to do more for Ukraine's defense. Megumi Lim has more from Kyiv.
The NATO Northern Group is made up of 12 European countries: the UK, the Netherlands, Germany, Poland, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Estonia, Lithuania and Latvia. And the group released a joint statement after their meeting on Thursday that Ukraine's security was of great importance to NATO, reiterating their commitment to Kyiv defending its sovereignty. Lithuanian Defense Minister Laurynas Kasčiūnas said the country will be starting a national drone program to link support to Ukraine. It will finance 10 million euros to buy drones from local drone producers and deliver them to Kyiv. Kasčiūnas also praised Germany's initiative to lead the air defense coalition. Berlin launched this initiative in April to raise funds to get more air defense systems to Ukraine. A number of European countries have backed the initiative, and according to German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, who recently visited Kyiv, nearly €1 billion have been raised so far. Latvia's Defense Minister Andris Spruds also said around €500 million has been secured to provide Ukraine with more drones. The meeting comes amid intensified Russian strikes against Ukrainian cities. Recent attacks by Moscow has destroyed about half of Ukraine's energy generating capacity, forcing Kyiv to implement rolling blackouts nationwide. Regions bordering Russia, such as Kharkiv, has also been coming under relentless bombardment. The latest attack on Thursday killed at least 7 people and injuring more than a dozen. President Zelensky has urged Ukraine's Western allies to become more involved in its defense by intercepting Russian missiles. Megumi Lim in Kyiv reporting for DD India.
And more on to the weather report. Heavy rains return to southern Brazil, ruining days-long cleanup efforts in the already flooding, devastated areas. According to weather officials, in a span of 12 hours, parts of Porto Alegre received more rains than they typically do in a whole month. Record flooding that crippled southern Brazil over the past month has killed 163 people, with more bodies expected to be found. Moreover, around 600,000 more people have been displaced by the massive floods. And Japan is taking emergency steps to keep people safe from heat stroke this summer. The country's meteorological agency is warning this year could be another hottest on record, with many parts of the country already experiencing days over 30 degrees. The government is stepping in with a new emergency system to alert people to stay inside on especially hot days. Chris Gilbert took the local temperature on his new plan.
It's set to be another scorching summer, and locals in downtown Tokyo are already taking shelter. The government is set to provide more relief, emergency measures to create more cool spaces when there's a severe risk of heat stroke, which is particularly dangerous to Japan's growing population of older people. Over 65-year-olds made up 90% of Tokyo's heat stroke-related deaths last year.
You can feel something is wrong and getting worse every year. We are struggling to cope with climate change, and heat stroke is a huge threat.
I think we would notice the danger before the government issues an alert. We are already mindful of it. Children and older people can't go outside as freely anymore.
More elderly people will probably be hospitalized this year. It's hard to prepare and respond to these unprecedented conditions.
The new plan will trigger the Environment Ministry to send out alerts to local governments on days when there's a high risk of heat stroke. Schools and companies will be prompted to take measures such as cancelling outdoor events and sports days. Local gyms, malls and halls will be assigned as air-conditioned retreats for people to take shelter in until the threat has passed.
Official statistics show that the number of heat stroke-related deaths every year in Japan is often more than 1,000. That's higher than the death toll from some natural disasters like earthquakes. And the government is hoping that the new emergency measures will create more oases for people to take shelter from the summer heat.
Workers in aged care facilities say the situation is becoming worse every summer.
We feel a sense of strong urgency, especially with dementia patients and those who can't easily hydrate by themselves. Air conditioning is vital, but some care homes have run-down units, and it's hard to afford their repair.
Experts welcome the emergency measures, but say climate change relief should be built into cities.
Local governments should focus on urban planning that considers those vulnerable to heat stroke. Well-designed cities could keep elderly people off hot asphalt, have more areas out of direct sunlight, and resting spots like small pavilions.
Professor Ichinose agrees the national priority should be on older people. Over 65s are set to become 40% of Japan's population in the next 25 years, putting the heat on the government to find long-lasting solutions. Chris Gilbert in Tokyo reporting for DD India.
Well, more than a third of people in the United States are living in places with unhealthy air, according to the latest report from the American Lung Association. Air pollution is a major problem globally, with a vast majority of people now living with air that exceeds the World Health Organization's recommended levels of pollutants. And despite efforts to improve things in the US, many people are breathing unhealthy air. Caroline Malone reports for more.
Fierce, raging wildfires are getting worse in North America, threatening people's lives directly and indirectly as the smoke drifts across populated areas. This year's State of Air report shows for the first time in a quarter of a century, the country's worst hit areas for air pollution are in the western US, such as in California, where heat, drought and wildfires are all making things worse. A US air quality law, the Clean Air Act, regulates emissions, and the environmental agency sets air quality standards. However, the latest report from the American Lung Association shows more than 100 million people nationally live in places with unhealthy levels of air pollution.
The Clean Air Act has guided air pollution control in the United States for over 50 years, and it's made a tremendous difference. It's one of the most successful pieces of environmental legislation ever. And our air pollution has gotten a lot better than it used to be.
Power plants, coal fires and industry all contribute to particulate pollution, something the current President Joe Biden is pushing to better regulate. There are also rules enforcing cleaner cars and incentives to buy electric. But traffic is still a major contributor to air pollution, impacting health. While people near busy roads are more exposed to carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and smaller particles of air pollution that can more easily get into our lungs. Children, older adults, and those with existing lung diseases are also more susceptible to getting health problems. Health impacts from air pollution include breathing problems like asthma, heart attacks, and strokes. The World Health Organization says there's a link between air pollution and around 4 million premature deaths annually. On a global scale, the US has relatively good air quality compared to many other countries. But air pollution doesn't stop at borders, so how each country plans to tackle the causes affects others too.
We are in a climate emergency. We do need to take steps to make sure that we are reducing those climate change pollutants and getting that under control so that we can have some hope of reducing the heat and drought that are resulting in wildfires, which are going to have a significant public health impact.
Within the US, authorities are taking preventative steps, particularly on the West Coast, to try and reduce wildfires through more proactive forest management. But with experts predicting another record hot summer, potentially fueling fires and smoke, overall air pollution is likely to get worse, further harming people's health. Caroline Malone, Washington, for DD India.
And now time to get you all the glitz and glamour from the Cannes Film Festival. Well, the 77th Cannes Film Festival has truly been extraordinary for India so far. Sunflowers were the first ones to know. A short film directed by Film and Television Institute of Indian student Chidananda Nayak bagged the first prize at the 2024 Larsenev Prizes on Thursday. The winning films were screened after the award ceremony. Larsenev consisted of 18 student films chosen out of 2,263 entries coming from 555 film schools around the world. Also, DD India's correspondent in Cannes, Munmun Bhattacharya, spoke to the makers of Sunflowers, were the first ones to know a few days back in Cannes on their film. Take a look.
Of Sunflowers were first ones to know is with me here in Cannes. It is competing in the Larsenev section of the Cannes Film Festival. They are FTII students. Chidanand Nayak is the director of the film, and we also have Suraj, the director of photography, and Abhishek, sound designer, is also with us. Such a pleasure to have all three of you here on DD India. Chidanand, tell us how the idea was conceived, what is the backstory to it, and a little about the storyline.
So we are students from the television wing of FTI. So we have to do a final project. So the Manoj and my editor Manoj and me always wanted to make a Kannada film. So that's how the idea started, to make a Kannada film. And then when we were brainstorming with the team, so I pitched this idea came up, and they were quite excited with the idea. It's a film based on a folktale where a granny thinks because of a rooster the sun rises, and she takes the roosters and gets away. So the film is based on that story, and everyone liked the idea and everyone wanted to tell that narrative. So that's how we started making the film.
Any challenges, Suraj, you faced in videographing it?
The first challenge we faced was to find a location, because the film is based in unknown location and the time period is not definite. Me and Abhishek, we searched for almost 50-60 villages for the location, and the location we got was very rural. There were no network, no proper roads, so our crew couldn't get easily there. The lights I wanted to take, that was not possible. We tried to light up with the fire, and the moonlight, and how to deal with that was the main challenge I faced.
And how did you create sounds in the film?
So as this story completely takes place in an unknown period of time in the past, so I had to make sure that none of the modern sounds make it to the film. And I tried to combine them in a way that sells the story as something that's happening in a magical land, in a fantasy land. So I didn't go the conventional way of doing the things as are done in usual night scenes. I even used sounds that are heard in the day in the film, just to make it as magical as possible.
Well, excitement continues for Indian representation at the 77th Cannes Film Festival as we look forward to the 11th day. Indian cinematographer Santosh Sivan is going to be awarded the Pierre Angiox Award. Winners of the Uncertain Regard Awards will also be announced today. And film We All Imagine Us Light by Indian director Pal Kabadia will have its second screening today. And DD India correspondent Munmun Bhattacharya joins us for more from Cannes on this. Well, Munmun, great news for India as Indian short film bagged the first prize in the Larsenev section. How big is this for Bharat?
Very big, Lipakshi. Good morning to you. Good morning to all the viewers in India and around the world. This is extremely big for India because this is encouragement for all the budding filmmakers and film artists from India, all those who want to become filmmakers, because these are students of the Film and Television Institute of India. This was part of the year-end project. And this shows that FTII is among the best film schools in the world as well. Now, this is not the first time that India has won this award in the Larsenev section. In 2020, Ashmita, who was also an FTII student, won it for her short film Cat Dog here at the Cannes Film Festival. So it is indeed a big day, and you heard me talk to the cast and crew of Sunflowers were the first ones to know. So there were several challenges that were encountered. You heard me asking Suraj Thakur, the DOP, the director of photography,
Yes.
On the challenges that he encountered, and he said that because there was a lack of generator availability in a village that they had finally zeroed in on after looking for locations. They went to see 50 to 60 locations, and finally they used fire and moonlight for lighting. So there were several challenges that were encountered, and this was a huge competition because this particular film was competing against 17 other short films, and even the team was not expecting as much, because I spoke to one of them who said that the competition is really tough. The screening had taken place a couple of days back, and then the awards were announced yesterday, and after that the winning films were screened. So this indeed is a big day for India. What a start it's been. Now, last night we also saw the premiere of All We Imagine Is Light by Indian director Payal Kapadia. The second screening takes place at 12 noon here at the Cannes Film Festival, and rave reviews are coming in. I've gone through reviews from Variety, from Guardian, from the festival reviewer itself. They all call it gentle, dreamlike, a triumph about an urban connection and an unexpected sisterhood, and also a feminist epic by Payal Kapadia.
Okay, happy day for India there. Also, Indian cinematographer Santosh Sivan is being awarded at the festival today. How is the build-up to that taking shape, Munmun?
Well, Lipakshi, yesterday I attended the masterclass by Santosh Sivan, where he spoke about his achievements, his life as a whole, about his journey as a cinematographer. He's not only a cinematographer today, he's also directed films. So he's done cinematography for more than 55 feature films, more than 50 documentaries, and he's the director of 17 films. But he's also the DOP, or the director of photography or cinematographer, for all the 17 films that he has directed. And it's been a life of achievement. He stands out in the whole of Asia. He's going to be the first Asian to be honored with this prestigious honor.
Okay.
And the award will be presented by Indian actor Preeti Zinta, who I spoke to on Santosh Sivan, who told me that Santosh ji is very quick on the reflexes, and that his shot is always ready in almost 5 minutes, and says that his skill is really unparalleled and his work is effortless. And she is going to present the award besides the president of Anjaneo International. Anjaneo is a brand that is associated with Cine Lenses.
All right. Thank you so much, Munmun, for that update from there. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.